Mike Peretz, Eduardo Martinez, Kelly Garcia, John Feinfrock, Joanne Ford, and Yolanda Lopez. Please come forward.
Yes, my name is Barbara Young. I'm a Richmond resident, and I'm here on behalf of students and parents who deserve to have the right to have school choice, whether it's parochial, public, private, and charter. I'm a retired educator, 39 years in education. I was a teacher, a principal, an assistant superintendent with special education, human resources, curriculum instruction, and a retired school superintendent. I retired from a public school system that had dual immersion, charters, private schools, Catholic schools, low socioeconomic, high ELL student population. So today I went and looked at some of the facts about West Contra Costa, specifically Kennedy, and I'm appalled as an educator. English language arts on the last state test was, for West Contra Costa, already below norm for the state of California, was 43%, and Kennedy was 16%. In math, 38%, Kennedy was 5%. And it's that for all the other subject areas. The state goal of 800 on the API, it's 527 at Kennedy, but greater than that is the equity gap for your English language learners that are 300 points below that. And today's truancy reports for the county, 37.6%, West Contra Costa 68.8%, and Kennedy 97.1% truancy. You look at Summit. Summit supports low-income families, students at risk. It's not about high-performing students. Yet they're award-winning schools nationally recognized with 100% SATs. 100% of the kids meet the A to G requirements for college. 96% go on to four-year schools. I know that you've funded Kennedy, and it's not really about the funds you've given Kennedy, and it's not about the unions. It's about what's best for kids. It's about investing in kids. Students and parents have the right to be able to choose to be part of a school like Summit. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
Ms. Young? Ms. Young?
Ms. Young,
Are
question.
you affiliated with Summit Charter School?
No, excuse me. No, I am not. I'm just speaking as a citizen.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Mike Peretz.
Good evening. I'm Mike Peretz, a proud Richmond resident. I have worked for the Richmond School since, I've worked with the Richmond School since 1966 at Harry L's, at Kennedy, and at Kappa, so you know my neighborhood. I would challenge the previous speaker to come down to Kennedy and take a look and see how she could help us with 6 to 8 students who come to us as juniors and seniors with no English at all, et cetera, et cetera. This is not what I want to spend my time discussing, but I just want you to know that Kennedy is a landing strip for so many people, and that people grow 2 or 3 years every year while they're there, but they're not going to look good on these standardized tests. What I did come here to talk about is the history that we need to look at so that we don't make the same mistakes again. There have been a lot of innovations, a lot of good ideas, a lot of well-intentioned people who've come up with the system for choice, with the Career Development Center. And all of these things, in a sense, have hurt Kennedy, that at one time was a very high-scoring, one of the best schools in Northern California. What I would like to do is not get involved in an adversarial relationship with the charter school and with the Chamberlains. I would, as I did at the school board, invite them to not spend so much time with Summit, but come down to where we are, come down to our house, come down to our neighborhood, come down to our kids. That would be a significant help for us and for the kids, and if reproducible successes came out of this, then it would be great for everybody. The Chamberlains have millions and millions of dollars. I think if you put them together with Kivy Kleiman, who's the principal of Pinole, David Luongo, who's the principal of El Cerrito, Julio Franco, who's the principal of El Cerrito, along with Ms. Thompson, Ms. Blewett, a few other people,
Mr.
we
Peretz, your
could
time
come up
has
with something.
expired.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have more to say, but
Eduardo Martinez.
Eduardo Martinez, Richmond resident and retired school teacher, and I still sub at various schools from high school to kindergarten. And I have subbed at Kennedy, and I have seen that at Kennedy, students range from very, very low to very, very high. And I can tell you that charter schools are the gentrification of education. When I was at Downer Elementary, when Making Waves came in, they took the best students. They took the best students and the best parents. They took the parents who were engaged in their kids' education because that's what they demand at Making Waves. So we were left with the parents who had too much to do, both parents working full-time to keep their kids in school, kids that were homeless. And because of that, behavior problems increased. Because there's a threshold. If you have 1 or 2 problem kids in the classroom, you can maintain control. But once you get 4 or 5 problem kids in the classroom, then basically you're babysitting. You're trying to teach behavior as opposed to education. So what we need are the people at Summit to team with the people at our high schools and work together to make our high schools the kind of schools that they envision. Schools where all of our kids learn, not just some of our kids. So let's work together to make our schools, not just some schools, but all of our schools, schools where children learn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kelly Garcia.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Garcia, and I am the new director of the Summit Charter School K2. So I just wanted to come here tonight and actually clarify a few things. Number one, I just want to make sure everyone was really aware of what a charter school is. It is a public option. We do want to serve every single student here in West County. And specifically, our school, we have a mission to serve a diverse student body and prepare them for life in college. In the 10 years that we have existed as an organization, that mission has never wavered. And specifically, we have always targeted students from underserved communities. I know there's been a lot of public discourse on a couple specific items that I actually wanted to address. Number one, that we are going to recruit and target only the highest performing students. In our 10 years of operation down on the peninsula and down in San Jose, that is factually inaccurate. We actually did a study a few years ago where we looked at the incoming CST scores of our students as compared to our district, and we actually were taking students with lower CST scores. So I know this fact keeps being repeated over and over publicly that we only take the highest performing, and all I can say is please look at the actual facts, because just because you keep repeating something doesn't make it true. We are targeting underserved students, and for 10 years we have done that with tremendous success. The other thing I actually wanted to clarify is that we have absolutely no intention and never have of harming traditional schools. In fact, we want to be collaborative with them. When we first started looking at West County last year, in the springtime, we went to one of the middle school principals and actually asked if some of his teachers wanted to come work with us for the summer. We would pay them. We wanted to introduce some of the professional development that we were doing. Our goal is to make all schools better, not just the students who we are serving in our school. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, can I ask a question?
Yes,
Oh, sure.
Go ahead.
So I understand where you're coming from. I understand that like I said earlier, I think you guys want to do you want to help the community, which I completely get. But so let's go through this. I know you guys don't target the highest performing students, but let's say I am going into my sophomore year at Kennedy, and my mom is on drugs, and my dad is in prison. Now, I'm not going to fill out the form for the lottery for your school. Or let's say my dad got deported, and my mom was working 3 jobs to keep food on the table and keep a roof over our head. I'm not really going to do what's necessary in order to get into your charter school. In addition, you're only taking about 200 kids somewhere in that area. I mean, who knows what the exact numbers will be. So there's going to be 600 kids left at Kennedy, and I'm probably, if I'm in that situation, I'm probably going to be one of the kids. So what are you going to do for me if I'm one of those kids who's left back at Kennedy now with 200 of my peers who were more likely to be peers whose parents have it together gone?
So actually, interestingly, the two students you just used as examples, I actually have those kids in my school. In fact, yesterday I met with a girl whose dad was recently deported. So those are the students who are in our schools. And when we can't work with parents, which we actually know is very challenging because people have chaotic lives, I actually work with community members. I work with elementary school administrators. I actually go to things like Boys and Girls Clubs, to community collaboratives, and I actually ask them to help me find the kids whose parents can't help them find me.
So but aside from that, but there's still going to be 600 kids left at Kennedy, or unless Kennedy closes and they have to go somewhere else.
Well, can I just speak to that for 1 second? I was just going to say, I'm curious where that assumption comes from, because we actually, I'll use the school I actually live in, or I work in right now. Two of our schools exist in Redwood City, which is a significantly smaller district than West County. And we've had no effect in terms of the enrollment that schools would have to close over there, or teachers are losing their jobs. So I'm just curious.
This isn't Redwood City. There's a specific situation. Kennedy's been, and I know you don't know that because you're not, but Kennedy's been looked at for closure for a long time because it's a small school compared to the other schools in the district, and people say, you know, that's a drag on resources or whatever. But regardless if it leads to closure or not, the fact is that, you know, the kids that go to your school are going to have to come from somewhere, and so there's a chance that there'll be kids who would more otherwise be going to Kennedy. So what I'm saying is it's still only going to be a certain amount of the kids, and the rest of the kids are still going to be at Kennedy or split up between other schools in the district if Kennedy closes. And my question to you is, what do you do for them?
For the kids who are not choosing to leave Kennedy?
They're not choosing. You only have a few slots. So what are you going to do for the other kids?
You mean the ones who are still at Kennedy?
The ones who are still at Kennedy, yes.
Well, hopefully, if the district wants to work collaboratively with us, I mean, I think our biggest thing that we can bring really is pedagogical practices. Hopefully, we are more than willing to work with any district who wants to work with us in order to share practices. And so what I would say is, what are we doing for them? Is hopefully we will just influence and be able to collaborate
I've
and
heard
share.
this before. So the talking point is that you guys will sort of have a model, and your pedagogy and your curriculum is so great that everybody else, if they just follow it, then the other schools will be awesome as well. Are you going to, you've got support from Chamberlain's, you've got support from Meg Whitman, all sorts of folks. Are you going to provide funds, because now Kennedy's going to have less money because 200 less students are going there? Are you going to ask your board to actually put money to recover the amount of funding that is decreased for Kennedy after your school comes in, as well as providing this great model?
So, I mean, I think you're asking a loaded question.
Of course.
We don't get any money from the Chamberlains. We're not getting money from our board. We get money the exact same way that Kennedy gets money.
I know you take it from our other public schools.
But we don't get any more money. So we're just taking students who you'd have to pay to educate at Kennedy, but the state dollars are coming to us to educate them on our site. So I just want to be really clear, though, because there is no money other than state and federal funds that come to our site.
Thank you both for the question and answer. Go ahead, Councilmember Bates.
You indicated your position with Summit Charter School is what?
I'm sorry, repeat that?
What was your position with Summit School?
Yeah, right now I am both the outgoing director of one of the Redwood City schools, and beginning this year I'm also the new director of the upcoming school.
Okay, what location have you looked at in Richmond where your charter school would be set up?
So right now we're in talks with the Chamberlains, and that's the only facility that we've actually examined right now. Our main goal...
Which facility?
Oh, it's at 1800 Elm Street by the Del Norte BART station, the former Windrush campus. But I want to be really clear that our focus is actually getting the charter approved, which is completely separate than the facility, and they've really become conflated. So as soon as we get our charter approved, we will actually move forward with the facility.
So your intent is to do citywide recruiting. You're not just recruiting from Kennedy, I would presume, of what?
Absolutely. I mean, I have spent the last couple months down here in Richmond working with some new friends that I have made to actually help me get access to students all over Richmond, certainly not just within the zoning of Kennedy at all.
And what is the percentage of students that attend college from Summit as opposed to from the West Country Costa Unified School District?
So I can definitely speak to Summit. Our graduates, 100% of them meet college entrance requirements. In last year, 96% of students were accepted into at least one four-year college or university. I don't know the exact number in West County, but I do know that it is significantly less, and specifically for African Americans, Latinos, EL, SPED students, significantly less.
And what's the average tuition for your students?
What's the average what?
Tuition?
Tuition?
Yes.
Yeah, we're free. That's what I wanted to clarify at the beginning. It is a public school. There is no fee to attend. Students come just like they would come to Kennedy. We are operated on state dollars. There's nothing private about this. It is a public option for all students in West County.
So clarify is that it is the same as a public school, except that is a chartered school, totally free.
100% free.
And the last question is, did the administration of the West Country Costa Unified School District recommend approval of the summit?
Yeah, that's a great question. The staff recommendation was to approve. So the West County board staff said yes, that was their recommendation, and it was the school board who actually went against their own staff's recommendation, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's go on to the next speaker.
John Feinfrock.
Hello, council members. Thank you for having me. My name is John Finnefrock. I work with Families That Can in Richmond, which is an organization operated out of the California Charter Schools Association. I am somewhat new to the position. However, I just wanted to advocate for educational choice. I know there is parent demand for this school, and I believe that we're all working to make sure that students in Richmond have the best education possible, and I support educational choice, and I urge the council not to adopt this measure. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Joanne Ford. Joanne Ford.
Hello. Hi, my name is Joanne Ford. I'm a Richmond resident, and I would love to see another school. I would love to see another public school option for our Richmond children because they do deserve it. And I grew up here in the city of Richmond for 44 years, and I would love to see it approved. I'm nervous, so please approve the charter school. We need it. But also, I'm going to piggyback on what you said, how you say your name? Jail. My son did graduate from Kennedy High School, but also there are some major issues at Kennedy High School because that school was on major lockdown. Students from other schools are interfering, coming in. There was numerous of shootings there. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next group of speakers are Yolanda Lopez, Lourdes Garcia, Diane Brown, Scotty Smith, Linda Ruiz, Jelani Dodson, and Brenda Gray.
Buenas noches.
Good evening. I was asked to translate.
Mi nombre es Yolanda López.
My name is Yolanda Lopez.
Y estoy aquí.
And I am here.
Porque soy una madre preocupada.
Because I am a concerned mother.
Para darle una mejor educación a mi hijo.
I want to give my child a better education.
Y las escuelas alternativas tienen un nivel académico muy alto.
And the alternative schools have a high level of academic achievement.
Y nosotros, la comunidad, necesitamos más escuelas de estas.
And we, the community, need more schools like these.
Necesitamos que nos apoyen.
We need your support.
Yo en una tarde junté 47 firmas
In just one evening, I was able to gather 47
de
signatures
padres que también están preocupados por la educación de sus hijos.
from parents who are also concerned and want to see this.
Y en esta, yo quiero que apoyen estas escuelas.
I want you to support these
Y
schools.
en la caja tengo 240 firmas en apoyo de también padres preocupados que exigimos buenas escuelas.
And in this box, I have 240 signatures from parents who want to see the charter school.
Y yo exijo una escuela para mi hijo de estas.
I want a school like these for my child, just like the residents.
Es todo.
That's it.
Thank you. Lords Garcia. Okay, I guess the person's not. Diane Brown.
Good evening. Okay, look, I'm a career teacher in Richmond, okay? And I just want to say that there are a lot of charters that are going to be coming to Richmond. Everyone is looking for public school dollars. It is not free. Our schools are free because we educate everyone, okay? Well, let me tell you a few things that I know about Summit. And I hope that everyone in this room care about the education of our children, and you should be worried about charter schools. They siphon off more engaged families. UTR, and I'm speaking on behalf of UTR, United Teachers of Richmond. UTR has been researching the charter school movement since 2008. Much of the research suggests that siphoning can lead to greater segregation by race, economic status, and academic ability. I find Summit to be problematic. They want to be located in an area of our district with the highest proportion of disadvantaged children. UTR's charter expert noticed that this proposed charter school is using a strategy called ringing strategy, where CMOs, corporate management organizations, surround but do not locate in an area with disadvantaged families. This strategy means that the only most committed and able families make the effort. Finally, powerful people and deep pockets are making decisions that hurt our children and shatter communities. The district school board denied this charter. The staff was political. So I am supporting your resolution. UTR is supporting your resolution.
Madam Mayor, can I ask a real quick question?
Yes.
Can you explain that ringing strategy more, with the ringing strategy?
The ringing strategy, where charters, and it's one of our experts. I also went through to CTA, the California Teachers Association, who have a lot of research around how these corporate groups can infiltrate our communities, okay? So the ringing strategy is where CMOs, and this is what we're talking about, Summit. It is a corporate management group, and they have a service. Their schools are a model about service. It's not about education, okay? They surround themselves or locate themselves within an area where there are disadvantaged students, but what they're actually looking for are strategies to get the most families who can make the effort, who has the transportation, and that's how they seem to appear to look for disadvantaged students. But that's not what they're looking for. A couple of other things. I was at the school board meeting the night that Summit made their presentation. And I was appalled when Summit, one of the, I don't know if he was a CEO, whoever he was, stood up in front of our community and said that they will cooperate or they would collaborate with us if we make an unconditional vote to approve them. That's appalling. And they're not free schools. They're taking public school dollars from our students.
Thank you very much. Next speaker.
Scotty Smith.
Good evening. Can you hear me? My name is Scotty Smith, and I'm a resident of Richmond. I'm also an educational advocate, and I've been around the school district since, what was it, around 2000. And we came here we moved here during the bankruptcy, and I have been very active in terms of trying to facilitate a quality education for students in the district. First of all, I just want to make a few points. I did write a letter to the council and the mayor to say what I had to say, so I'm just going to stick with a few points. In terms of cultural competence, this district is not good at that. They have been working on that since I moved here, and it's deplorable in terms of what's happening to children of color in this district. A prime example would be to look at what happened to the Downer Five when they tried to do something constructive that would help our children. They were fought from the top. They were completely annihilated in this district. The 200 students you said that would come from Kennedy. This school will be taking students from all over this district. So they're not, it starts at 7th grade, so the kids are not even at Kennedy when they can go to this school. So that's another thing. The other thing, you mentioned something about making waves and what it did in terms of, someone mentioned that, about taking the high achieving students. I looked at the test scores of the students going into making waves. They were deplorable. But now I look at those same students, and that's the sad part about it, is I looked at those kids when they were in public school. A lot of them I knew. Then I saw them at Making Waves, and I saw what happened when they had people who were really focused on their needs. So I think we really need to move away from this a little bit in terms of your resolution.
Right, go ahead.
Mrs. Smith, we've been communicating by email the first time I had an opportunity to see you in person.
Hi.
And I appreciate your various comments, not only in reference to the school, but other areas as well. Now, what is your profession, and what authority do you speak from in terms of your experience?
Well, I've had about 35 years or more advocating for disadvantaged students. And that ranged from special education students to regular education students, kids who have been put up for expulsion, kids who are not receiving the necessary supports in the schools and are failing, and their parents will call, and I have to go in, and we look at and discuss what these children need. So I've been doing this for over 35 years, so I have a good handle for all children in this district, for all children in this district, and predominantly children of color. I participated in the and co-chaired the March for Education when we walked all the way to Sacramento and had to be dissed by the governor at that time in terms of coming from this district. So I really have a lot of experience in terms of looking at what's going on in terms of the education of kids in this district. And right now, I would love to see the district do better, but they're not on the road to doing better. I watched the last board meeting when they talked about all of the programs for the privileged kids. And at the end, one of the board members, Todd Grove, asked, tell me what happened to those kids who are basic and far below basic, etc. And they didn't have nothing. They didn't even talk about it. They didn't even know how many kids participated in the summer school program, how many kids couldn't even get into the summer school program. So these are the things that really upset me, and I get very emotional about it because I have worked very hard to try to make certain and advocate for our kids and go to these board meetings and say, hey, you got to stop this. This is killing our kids. If you look at what's happening at Kennedy, since everybody's bringing up Kennedy, why should they have a 97.1% truancy rate? What is going on in that school?
I would
I
like,
mean, if
yeah,
since
I
we
would
asked and all these questions.
I appreciate your remarks, Scotty. I just want to ask the council here that we have several more speakers here, and we are very early in our agenda, so to keep to simple answers. So I think we.
I have a question though I just have a question for the speaker.
Councilmember Beckles.
Very seldom do. So thank you very much for indulging me, Madam Mayor. So Ms. Smith, we worked together for lots of years, with my work with children's mental health, your work as an advocacy. I've called you so many times for different issues, so I'm feeling you. This topic is so difficult, so I'm really weighing all of the comments. So my question to you, because I know you, I know the work you do, I know the passion that you show every time we walk into an IEP together, and how you are just this, you mean business because of the work that you're doing. So my question to you is have you had an opportunity to, has there been any opportunities with the school district to maybe sit down? And I know it's different, with the different meetings, IEPs, but what about board members individually to sort of address the concerns that you have, which I know are valid?
Well, the school district just recently had a board retreat somehow with the low-performing schools. And it was very interesting. And we had a chance to sit around and talk about what's going on in the district. But I don't see a plan. We know what the issues are in this district. The issues have been here for a long period of time. But there is no plan. There is nothing, even in terms of the Common Core that is being introduced. The majority of the teachers have not really had the staff development that they need, and that's an area that is desperately needed. So there's a lot of things, and I've said that too, in different meetings and throughout the district, things that need to happen. I hope that it would, and I'm going to keep working to make certain I have input and try to get things, and there are some great teachers in this district that are doing some wonderful things.
So regardless of how this goes, though, is there any way you can sit down with, say, Diane Brown, she's the president.
I talked to Diane, yeah, and a lot of things Diane supports, I support as well. So we all are trying to work for the kids.
Okay, thank you so much. Next speaker.
Linda Ruiz.
Good evening. I guess one of my first comments after watching all the emotion and all the opinions coming from people, and very strong opinions, is that we get very emotional about our children. Oh, sorry. We're all very emotional about our children, and we all have strong opinions. So one of the first things I'd want to urge the City Council is, before taking a stance on the charter school and voting on this, that you please research this charter school, because there's so much, I feel, misinformation and opinion and emotions coming out. And ask Summit for a presentation. Look at their website. They have sites. Go take a tour and look at it, and look at this option for our kids. Because I'm a parent in the district, and I was the former board chair at Manzanita Charter School, and I've advocated for kids. I've been in a number of IEPs and SSTs, and I was also appointed by the City of Richmond on the School Closure Committee. So I know a lot about that, and I sent information when I was on the School Closure Committee, and I didn't hear back from the City Council. And my opinion, after being on that committee, is that did $4.3 million go to Kennedy? Because I think $4.3 million went to bail out the district. And I can send you more information if you want about the School Closure Committee, but that's kind of how I feel. For similar districts, our district is the lowest academically performing district in California, and California is one of the lowest performing states. And we have double the state average in truancy. And as a district parent and someone that has volunteered hundreds of hours in our schools, I want more for all our students. I want more for my children. I cannot afford a private school, and many parents cannot afford a private school. Anyways, I say our priority should be to our students. And I urge you support or wait on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
Excuse me.
Linda, there's a question.
So I'm wondering, I understand and appreciate your involvement. I understand the passion that you and a lot of other people in the room in the city have for getting the best education for our kids. I totally get that. What I'm not hearing, as I'm hearing a very spirited defense of Summit and why it would do a good job, et cetera, I'm hearing a lot of that. What I'm not hearing really is, and I'd invite the other speakers to try and talk to me about this also, is do you disagree when Councilmember Myrick says that the school at a minimum is going to be damaged because it's going to have less students and less flexibility, and at a maximum it could go back onto the closure list, because the whole problem is, you know, the whole reason that Kennedy was targeted for closure was not because the school district didn't like it, but just because the numbers were low. So if you lose 200 plus or minus students to a charter school, would there not be some possibility that we go back to the old days of Kennedy either getting closed or at least seeming to be at risk of closure?
Boy, that's a difficult one. One is the school will eventually, its target goal that I've seen, and I'm not with Summit, has a target goal of 600 students from 7th to 12th grade. There are 31,000 students in the district. So are they going to just pull from Kennedy? The Hill parents up in El Cerrito and Kensington are afraid that they're going to pull their students and damage their schools. And the most vocal people I saw at the school board were the Hill parents. And then what was the other part of the question? Sorry.
The other part of the question was, since we know that for years and years Kennedy was on the risk of being closed, if the city council had not put in the $4.5 million, it would have been closed.
I disagree with parts of that, because I was the representative for the city of Richmond and represented Kennedy. And what I saw was, I saw errors. They did this report called the MGT America report, and there were big errors in it. And with the errors, it put Kennedy on the school closure list. I do not believe it should have been on the school closure list to begin with. And one is because it had the, I'm not going to say it right, the Quality Education Fund, of what was around $1.2 million per year. And on the MGT America report, they rated schools by different categories. And one was if a school had special programs. Well, it had the lowest rating for special programs. It should have the highest rating for special programs. And one reason, too, that it was considered, I think, under-enrolled was because it had class size reduction. And there was also, they had told me, I know Mike Perez was here earlier, and I had worked with him on that, is that they also had another school there. So this is what I would demand is you guys are putting so much money into the school. You guys need to have better schools. You need to hold the district accountable. I think they my opinion, they blackmailed you out of that money.
So just a really quick question. Let's assume all that's true. Let's assume that errors were made and Kenny shouldn't have been on the list, okay?
That's my opinion.
Let's assume you're right about that, okay? What Mr. Myrick is saying is that happened, it'll probably happen in the future, and it may well close. And we know when schools close that the dropout rate about doubles when kids go from the smaller schools to bigger schools. We know that their GPAs go down. We know that the reading level goes down about half a grade. We know all that from a study in Chicago where they studied all that. So can you please respond to Mr. Myrick's argument, which is that it's putting Kennedy at risk of closure and it's really bad for the 600. It may well be good for the 200, but it's bad, potentially really bad for the remaining 750. Can you respond to that argument?
I think you need to demand that the district make that school better.
I think she made that point. So I would like us to not get into a back and forth with the public speaker. They have expressed their opinion. There are different opinions among public speakers. There may be different opinions among the council at the dais here, but I do not think it's fair that we go back and forth confront each public speaker. And the topic at hand is not the district's performance. Many of us have some opinions that may be quite in line with the speakers, but I really don't think we should be getting into that. It's a question of whether we support this resolution or not. I personally think the district needs a lot of improvement as well. I think every one of us will say that's true. Probably the district itself will say that's true. But that's another endeavor that needs to be taken on. So let's go on to the next speaker.
The next group of speakers are Jelani Dodson, Brenda Gray, Mike Parker, Madeline Cronenberg.
I'm the list of speakers that there are many people who have their name on the list here. I didn't realize.
I just want to ask a question, Speaker, but choose not for me to.
I think the speaker has already sat back. I mean, perhaps you could raise. She already sat down again. Yeah, I think she already stepped away from the podium. Yeah. Well. You would. There's people who put their names on to speak after the public speakers, and that's clear. Right. I would like us to continue because.
So let me ask you this question. I put my name up on the board. Am I acknowledged, or do I just wait till you decide to let me?
Vice Mayor, the procedure we have always done is to have council members put their name on the list after the public speakers.
So,
a couple council members and yourself could have been one of them, have sometimes asked questions, and in that case you will have to speak up because I do not know whether your name is at the end of the list to speak after the speakers or whether you have a question. But I do think that past speaker was being really almost interrogated with a barrage of questions that I would like us to not do.
That wasn't me. That wasn't what I was trying to do.
I realize that. I realize that.
If you can accept this, I spent 12 years teaching, and I don't think you have, and I possess 2 teaching credentials, so I know what's going on back and forth here. And I just wanted to ask a question, not an interrogating question, but Rogers and Myrick were the ones that were doing interrogating. So basically, if you choose for me not to speak when I put my name on the board, I am not going to challenge you. I will just be quiet and never ask a question.
If you could speak up,
and just abstain.
If you could speak up if you have a question, that would be the more appropriate.
That's what I did when the lady was at the podium.
But she's back.
Well, you let her go, and then you.
All right, let's go on to the next speaker, please.
Jelani Dodson.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council. My name is Jelani Dodson. I am not currently a Richmond resident. I have been a Richmond resident in the past, and I have a lot of family members that are Richmond residents, and I'm concerned about that and also interested in the long-term prosperity and vitality of Richmond. One of the things that got me intrigued with this issue is the fact that there was the promise of 100% college readiness for students. And I just ask you to visualize a situation where you have 100% of Richmond Public School students prepared to go to college. And that's an amazing visual and vision to have, whether it's in a chartered school or your typical public school. So I think that I'm concerned actually about the lack of openness to alternatives. I was taught rather recently in college that there is the opportunity to make the pie larger. So it's not necessarily this notion of splitting up a limited set of resources. By working together and collaborating with the various schools, there actually could be a way to make the pie larger so that eventually no school is threatened with closure and there's no fighting between the various schools. There's actually a symbiotic relationship where they can grow. I'm confident that the alternative schools such as Summit can make that pie larger. And one of the overall benefits, I'm professionally a real estate developer, and one of the benefits that we see in terms of discrimination of purchase of housing is the fact that school districts are a major component. So if you can improve the schools by establishing a goal of 100% college preparedness for students, you can start to attract a larger percent of population or home buyers to the Richmond area. And so not only will you have good schools, but you'll actually have an influx of folks moving to Richmond that would otherwise look it over. So I ask you to strongly consider these alternatives.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Brenda Gray.
Good evening. Hi. My name is Brenda Gray, and I am a resident of Richmond. I've been living here in the city of Richmond since 1971. I raised 4 boys in the Richmond Unified School District. I have 2 of my sons went to college on full scholarships. I have 3 grandchildren currently here in the city of Richmond that goes to the elementary school. I am for Summit Charter School because I believe what the young man said, why not make the pie larger? Why not allow our people to have more choices on where they want to send their children? I was out, as the other young lady did. I went out into the community, and I also had asked some of the residents if they would sign letters saying that they are for the charter school. I must have gotten about 100 signatures, and I can give these to you if you would like. And out of the 100 signatures that I received, I had maybe like 1 person that was against it. So if you can get 1 out of 100 that's against it, that means that this is something good. Because this school is guaranteeing that our children will get an opportunity to go to a D1 university starting from the 7th grade. Why not give them a chance? I speak for most of the residents of Richmond. I know I don't speak for everybody because nobody is going to always agree on the same thing. Everybody's not going to agree. But my cry is, I'm concerned all my kids have graduated, but I'm concerned about other children that's left behind. I don't want to see any child left behind, and I just encourage you all, as you vote, remember that all of the students will not be coming from Kennedy. There's many schools in this county. Thank you very much.
Mike Parker.
Mike Parker. I teach in a community college, and I'm painfully aware of the inadequacy of our current school system. The question is what strategy we adopt to improve that school system. If I may, I'd like to offer an analogy. It's like the school system's a damaged boat with a lot of passengers. One strategy is to use the available resources to try to repair the boat and to improve it. The other strategy is to take part of the resources that could be used to repair the boat and build a different boat for a few people so that they can escape. And especially when we're going to get the best swimmers to that new boat, we're basically dooming the people that are on the original boat. Now, you may not intend that as a consequence when you follow the strategy with this charter school in this situation, but it's one more nail in the coffin of the public school system. It's like taking the resources from that boat and allowing it to sink in order to save a few. The problem is that the strategy being offered is one that's called, we'll have choice and competition, and that will improve all, instead of improving the public school system as it is. Now, recent studies have shown that it simply doesn't work, that the charter school systems have not proven to be the savior of the school systems. There are a few very good charter schools, but there are a lot of very bad ones and a lot of mediocre ones which only make a profit. And the net result of all the charter school systems together has been essentially to cause a decline in public education and to lead the way to privatizing education in this society. Here we have a chance to actually look at the big picture. It's not a question of this one school. It's not a question of these particular kids. It's a question of strategy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madeline Cronenberg.
evening. My name is Madeline Cronenberg. I'm the president of the West Contra Costa School District. I voted on Summit. Can you hear me? I voted on Summit. I voted not to approve it. And in addition to the reasons that you know about the transportation, and there are some other technical things around signatures, the reason that's brought tonight in Mr. Myrick's resolution was very dominant in my mind. I came to you and asked you for the money to keep Kennedy open. And I will always be grateful that we got it. I see this choice, as Mr. Parker just said, to save just a few. They are looking at South Richmond. Mr. Bouzet, this is, if you read their documents, these are the children that they're locating, and these are the children that these are Kennedy kids. These are Kennedy kids. If I had actually said it the night of the school board, and I was actually the one who talked about below basic kids, it's incredibly important to me that we have as many resources as possible available for our kids at Kennedy. Removing a large number of them and the associated funding that we get from each child to allow the group to rise will not make our kids better, will not help our situation. We need to partner. I would love to partner. I would love to partner around pedagogy, but I don't, but sending off this group of kids to dilute the school that we now have is not the answer to make our system stronger. It just is not the answer to make our system stronger. And that's why I do really hope that you support Mr. Myrick's resolution and that you bring it tomorrow night to the county board.
Madam Mayor, I need to ask a question.
Sure. Go ahead.
Mainly because this is the president of the school board, and there are certain people that have expertise when they come and speak, and there are others basically expressing their, frustration. But that was an allegation that Kennedy had a 97% truancy. Could you clarify that?
It's not 97. It doesn't have a 97%. I'm sorry. It doesn't. I'm sorry. It doesn't have a 97% truancy. The truancy rates numbers have just been out, and I didn't actually get to review the newest ones. But if it had a 97% truancy rate, there wouldn't be anybody in the building. So really, it doesn't have a 90. I was just there. I don't know the rate.
Do you know the percentage of?
I wish I did. I honestly wish I did. When she said that, I started to go look it up, but I wasn't able to do it. Okay. But I know it's not 97%.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Cronenberg. Yes. So I want to